everybody. Liz Leitz at Macomb ISD. A couple updates from the SAT task force. We had a meeting on April 11th, and we run a couple of sessions this year to support um, connecting instructional strategies to the information that we get from College Board about the SAT suite of assessments. And as a group, we really have made the decision to take a year to start curating some resources to support districts who are looking for these instructional supports. So our framing is going to continue. Where do these assessments live within a larger balanced assessment system? We don't want to see districts just using this data to make instructional decisions, but we also want to give them some ways to access the resources that have already been created. So, for example, some resources from the Disciplinary Literacy Task Force around high quality instructional practices that they could look at, and then the resource hubs around that. And then also some of the resources created from the College Board themselves. So over the next year or so, I think we're going to spend some time really creating some high quality and curating some high quality resources so that we can have like a landing page that helps users find the right information that they need or get in touch with some of the great resources that we already have. Brad Brenner is our College Board rep from Michigan, and he wanted to share a couple of pieces about AP. But before that, he did say if your ISD or locals are looking for a PSAT or SAT scores and reports workshop, that they're happy to host that. But please request those ASAP because their fall fills quickly. So if you wanted to host something run by the College Board at your ISD or within a local, you can reach out to Brad, and his email is right there. AP is continuing to roll out those Kickstart classes that we shared earlier in the year. They have an AP Business Principles and Personal Finance, which is expected to fulfill Michigan's personal finance graduation requirement. So that might be something that you'd want to look into or share with your relevant groups that you support. And then their cybersecurity and networking course is obviously, takes AP credit, but it also works for CTE credit as well. So that information is there. And then the AP best practices, advanced placement best practices conference is coming up in Grand Rapids. So there's information there. Trevor Packer is going to be their keynote speaker. And as we say, always watch the MDE Spotlight for the most current updates. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Liz. Okay, and I just wanted to remind you too, there is a note taker in the agenda. So if you want to use that to take notes for each presenter, you can force a copy in colleagues. And if let's see, Rebecca, is Rebecca in the room or for our updates around the Reading League?
Yeah, this is Heidi Turchin. I'm on the board with Rebecca, and she couldn't join us today. So yeah. So we have our date set for our upcoming conference. So Friday, February 27th. We're not sure exactly where yet, but definitely get that date on your calendar. And then you can go to the next slide, Aisha. We're starting our summer book club, MTSS for Reading Improvement with Dr. Stephanie Staller from Mount St. Joseph. So the bit.ly is there to register, and there's also a QR code. You will not be disappointed. I know she's presented a few times in Michigan, and I've not had a chance to look at this book yet, but I'm excited to work with her. So that's it for our summer book study. And then the last thing is community of practice. So if you I don't know, I couldn't make the first one, but if you're interested in joining Rebecca with other ISD consultants, there's the link and the QR to join for the community practice.
Thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
Heidi. Comments that anyone have for Heidi? Okay. I'm not seeing the chat, so I'm thinking we're good. I'm gonna come back to Liz for MRA.
Thanks. I think Janelle's here too for the 612 disciplinary literacy too. I think we move forward over that. So I don't know if Janelle wants to share first.
I'm slotted for a little later. Thanks, Liz.
Oh,
I can
sorry
go
about that.
anytime, but
Sorry, my
yeah, no worries.
brain saw the slides and I saw you and I got distracted. Thank you. I'll stay in my lane. Michigan Reading Association Conference is going to be next March. It'll be our 70th annual conference. So save the date for that. Our theme is engaging minds and literacy for all, every learner, every voice, every story, and we will be in Lansing. The next slide lists the call for proposals, which is current. Oh, no, just kidding. The next slide, we're excited that Dr. Anita Archer is going to join us as our Saturday keynote speaker. I think a lot of us are familiar with Dr. Archer's work, so we were excited that she agreed to join us. And that will be our Saturday morning keynote. And then this is that next slide is our call for proposals, which is already open. The proposal format we're using is through our conference app this year. So that's slightly different, but if you have questions, feel free to reach out. We're trying to, as our conference moves a little bit earlier than it has been traditionally, we're trying to open the proposal window sooner. So if you can share with your groups that our proposal acceptance window is slated to close July 1st. We're trying to get our proposals in before the end of the school year to allow districts for a little bit more planning as well. We might extend that depending on what our submissions are, but we would love to hear the great work that you're doing regionally as well. So maybe you'll want to partner with a district or share some of the great things that you're doing. There's a link in these slides that takes you right to the call for proposals for our conference. So that we hope that you'll join us, share the opportunity, and also consider submitting a proposal.
All right. Any further comments on MRA? Any questions? Okay. Thanks again, Liz. Okay, we are going to go ahead and move forward into our ELTF updates from Tanya Pearson.
Thank you. Yep. Good morning or almost afternoon, everyone. Just want to say there's a true connection with the MRA. Their theme for the conference of engaging minds and literacy for all, every learner, every voice, every story. It's pretty aligned to the essential practices. So just food for thought as you're thinking about those proposals. It's always a good learning opportunity and way to connect. So I'll give that little plug to MRA also. So we have a few things on our slide here for not only ELTF, but MAISA. So I just want to highlight that tomorrow is our, I'm sorry, not tomorrow, one more day, Thursday is our last quarterly coaching meeting for the year, and it is face-to-face at Saginaw Valley State University. And so it's a big opportunity. We hope that your coaches are already registered and signed up. And if you take a second, I've put in the slides some of the work that we're doing for the regional coaching trajectory, and it's for viewing purposes for everyone, but I just would like you to take a look at slide 2 in particular and why we're moving towards this. This has been a thought process within MAISA for several years, and we're finally really building enough traction to make this happen. So we know that there's a lot of travel expenses around getting to quarterly meetings. So we're taking a new approach and putting this model into place so that we will have regions all the way around the state, those 10 MAISA regions, and those regional leads will be helping facilitate the coaching meetings. And so we want to make sure that we are really building a sustainable system, that those supports are embedded into your coaching work that's going on around, and making sure that we're really listening to the stakeholder voices that are saying it's really hard for us to get all the way downstate or get to the west end of the UP. So we want to be cognizant of that. If you take a look at slide 2, we are in the midst of hiring these positions. And so some are already on board, and Michelle Goley has connected with the ISD leads and those coaches. But our goal is to really get all of our coaches through this, and knowing that the feedback from the coaches and the work that's been done over the past several years shows that the intensive coaching opportunities have been one of the most valuable professional learning opportunities for our coaching staff. And so we're trying to really build that into our system and making sure that all of our coaches are put through an intensive. It's also part of our assurances from MDE. So this slide just shows the number of people and who our leads are. You could take a look at the next commitments, and that GLN is committed to having this. They're collecting data, they're submitting stories and data around at least one full coaching cycle. So it's a pretty big opportunity for us to embed and really listen and support the work around our state. I have a link in here for the August Institute. If you have not signed up, please make sure that you do that. I'm sure the rooms are going hot and fast if they're not already booked up. So make sure that you take advantage of that. I wanted to let you know that MAISA is adding a 0.5 FTE to support our work around pre-K, and specifically pre-K coaching. So we know that this is with pre-K for all and really trying to build a cohesive system. We are adding a 0.5 FTE, and this position is being filled by our ECAN director, Amy Brower, and she has significant background in early childhood, and so she's just going to be filling some extra space for us and helping us with her expertise so that we have a voice that's really strengthening and focused on pre-K. A huge grant opportunity has been awarded to Tuscola ISD, and MAISA will be supporting that feasibility study. And the research is going to be connecting MyRead and MyCoachCompass. And in addition to dyslexia, with the new legislation coming out, how can those two platforms help support coaches, classrooms, and the work that's being done for students? So that grant will be allowing Tuscola and MAISA to partner and to make sure that we are embedding that work, but also looking at the needs and how can those two platforms support those classroom teachers, and what does that look like in the end? So more to come on that. We continue to meet monthly with MDE, with literacy and math. And if you have any great stories that you would like to share, please take a look at that link and send those stories to us so that we can highlight what's happening within your regions and your ISDs. Any questions?
Thanks, Tanya. I just wanted to say that the slides that she was referring to are linked in the presentation slides. So the regional coaching plan, the August Institute, and the sharing of the stories form are all linked into the slide deck. I'm not sure what number her slide is, but you can find it.
I think it's around 17, but I think that also shows like if there's missing slides or slides that we're not using. So somewhere in that vicinity, but it's relatively the same slides, the same slide, just I keep adding new things to it, and the links are working. Feel free to connect with me if you have any questions. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. And if Annie is in the room, I know we're kind of moving through the share time a little bit faster. I might circle back to, there's a couple presentation slides that are here that have been updated, but the person to speak to them is not here right now. But if you just kind of go with the flow, I'll call on you and feel free to share. So if Annie's in the room, she's going to talk a little bit about Michigan Learning Channel, give us some updates.
Hi, Aisha. Thanks. Yeah, you are a little bit ahead of schedule. Can you hear me okay?
Ken.
Oh, okay, great. We had like an internet glitch, so it's back. Fingers crossed.
I
I
know, I've been out myself, so grace to us.
Good times, Lord. Well, thanks for having me here. I put a few things in here that are mostly just really self-explanatory for you all. The April newsletter is in here for your use and to share as you would like. And really the bulk of that is around what's available for summer learning. And I just want to make note that there is an ability to order books through the printer that Michigan Learning Channel has secured. And something that they hadn't had on the site is that it's free shipping is included in the price of that, which is pretty huge because the books are like really reasonably priced. So when I was talking to colleagues last week, I said, oh, if we could let people know that. So just so you know, those books are in there, that price, they're under $3 a book, includes that free shipping. We are moving along with the 4-5 series, which is like wrapping up. And there's a new way to access those segments. So I put a link there. They have the segment split up by core teacher, but you'll see in the newsletter also the YouTube playlist and ways to access all of that content. I kind of try to organize it in the newsletter by each like grade level, if you will, like preschool, K3, 4, 5. But wanted to make you aware of that new way to see the segments and also to just acknowledge that Michigan Learning Channel is working on their website. And so some days it's a little bit wonky. So I will apologize in advance if it is wonky for you when you're trying to access it. Today was one of the days where it was having a little trouble on the main 4 or 5 page, but the YouTube channel seemed fine and the segment page did. So thanks for your continued patience with that. There's a couple presentations linked in here that were connecting literacy essentials with Michigan Learning Channel and Read Write Work content. One of them was around building the reading brain, which I shared at the last meeting, and the facilitator guide. I was created for that. So I worked on that, got some amazing stakeholder feedback, and there's a facilitator guide and a set of like posters, if you will, to promote discussion around that if you were facilitating a viewing of the film. But there's a new update, which is why that's highlighted in yellow, is that since that's been completed, they'd like to put the guide onto PBS Learning Media, which creates it being more on like a national platform, and in which case we had to switch some of the branding and some of the way that it is like captured. And so in good news, I'm working with the WKAR team. So now there's going to be 3 different pieces. What will live on PBS Learning Media will be a participant guide that will give each chapter of the 26-minute film, in the Reading Brain, with discussion questions, important notes, and timestamps. And then within that participant guide, that's what we're calling that because PBS Learning Media is really meant for individual teachers. You'll have access to get to the links for the Facilitator Guide Toolkit, which has, it's like a broader, it's really meant for people like yourselves that would be facilitating the content and not for an individual person. And the posters will be linked there too. So all that's like in a tiny update process, but generally the content will stay the same. The other presentation, I was really excited to have a chance to work with Erin Pell, and we talked about how you could incorporate Read, Write, Roar into IRIPs through MyRead. So Erin and I worked for about a year to get that work done and worked in partnership with Detroit PBS colleagues. So now if you are a MyRead, if you use MyRead as your platform, Erin will be sending out a communication sometime soon, but you can add Read, Write, Roar as an option into MyRead so that if you are doing an IRIP and trying to share resources for families, we now have all of the, I shouldn't say all, most of the segments broken up, and I've done a bunch of different presentations on like what playlists look like and the skills that they have. So you can see Erin in my presentation is in there. She kind of walks through how it's linked into MyRead. We talk about how the playlists are organized. So that way you can see it will tell you what skills kids would need to work on. And always happy to share any additional information on that. So those were the 3 big updates I planned to share, but I did add one slide in that I made while we were listening to Mark. I had wanted to hear what Mark would say this morning because I thought there probably would be a connection with MLC. So Aisha, if you don't mind going to the next slide real quickly, it's just a very simple slide, but wanted to let you know if you were interested in doing things like podcasts or adding some more media literacy into your schools, through the Michigan Learning Channel, you can apply to get a kit sent to you for media, and podcasting kits are one of the kits that you can request. So Mark was sharing different ways to really utilize AI in a very unique way. And I thought you should just know that you can actually request a way to get a podcast kit mailed right to you at your ISD to use with educators. And you could implement some of the things he was talking about really quickly. So just wanted to add that in for you today, and happy to answer questions at any time. Please reach out, or if there's anything timely now that you need from me, you can just feel free to put that in the chat.
Thank you, Annie. I think Aisha may
Sure.
have gotten kicked out again, so
Oh,
I'll just keep us rolling here. But
thanks,
please
Carrie.
give me a little bit of grace because I'm taking notes and sharing my screen and trying to navigate all of this on my own. So I'll do my best, but I think we're ready for Rusty, and I think I saw him in the room.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I have two quick updates on behalf of Early Math and also Early Literacy, Learning Labs, and then the Leadership Institute, which both have been shared with you all in the past. Just a quick update and some content on them. So on the next slide, you'll see the update around Learning Labs. I'll place in the chat a couple of links that may be helpful for you all. The first link is the registration for labs. As you see on the screen, we have one coming up in mid-May in the Houghton Lake area that has 4 open seats that will fill. But if you're interested, now is a good time to go ahead and register for that. I also in the chat put a link to the one pager that was on the previous slide if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the big picture around Learning Labs. Next fall, we will be having a Learning Lab Train the Facilitator in Mount Pleasant. The dates are held September 11 and 12. The registration is not yet open for that. But if you want to hold that on your calendar, if that's something you might be interested in, feel free to do that with the registration coming soon. On the next slide, thanks, Carrie, is the Early Math Leadership Institute. This is the same slide that I shared last time that we met. We do have a day held for literacy leaders, as we shared previously. It is Tuesday, August 12th. We will have Dr. Allison Fox-Resnick in the room talking about systems, along with a bunch of breakout options for systems. And we, like last year, are opening about 70 seats for literacy friends to join their math team from the ISD and local district to join us on that day, since it's not necessarily math specific. It's focused on adult learning systems. That registration is open and live. I think when I checked this morning, there were about 15 spaces remaining. I'm going to throw that in chat as well so that you all can take a look. You'll look for the literacy leader registration tab. And like I said, I think there are about 15 spots open for that day. Like Tanya said earlier, the Literacy Coaching Institute follows that starting on the 13th. So we've opened this up just like last year to provide an opportunity for literacy people who might be coming to the Literacy Coaching Institute the next day to join us to learn about some adult learning systems. Know that both of those are available. Links are in chat. That's the extent that I had today. I'll look at the chat and hang around for just a second. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post those and I'll reply. If not, I hope you all have the best week of the year.
Thanks, Rusty. I am back. I've had some internet issues, technical difficulties this morning, but I believe we have Dot Blackwell that she's not here to actually speak to the slides, but she did say that she updated the slides. So I want to give everyone just a few moments to pause and take a look at her slides just to see some of the updates. And as you peek at the slides from MyKIP, we'll have Janelle on deck to share about disciplinary literacy. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the disciplinary literacy slides. You might have to move back a little bit, but if Janelle's in the room, I'll let her unmute and share a few of the updates around disciplinary literacy essentials.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Lots of great updates today. I'll speak specifically to DL. So the first bullet point that you see there, and this I think will get repeated when Kathy and the folks from MAC give their updates. But on May 13th, it's going to be our final session of the Assessment Learning Network series for this year. We've been focused on the 612 Essentials, disciplinary literacy, and connecting the dots with equitable assessment in ELA and mathematics. We're really excited to have some practitioners join us on May 13th to talk about how they've been taking up the ideas. And then the series will continue next year, and we'll be honing in on equitable assessment in science, social studies, and the arts. So if that is something that you're thinking about and interested in, I just encourage you to follow. We should have registration links for next year's dates pretty soon. And then the next bullet point I've spoken to before, but just wanted to put back in front of you that October 17th, hosted by Oakland Schools, but this is a DL task force event. It is a consultant retreat on disciplinary literacy. We're especially trying to target folks that maybe weren't able to attend 2 years ago. We had a similar consultant retreat in Lansing. We want to make sure that every ISD feels equipped to start this work, whether or not they have secondary consultants or content consultants. So we've had early literacy coaches attend these retreats. We've had local leaders attend with someone from the ISD. So if you haven't had a conversation with your GELN member about the event, this might be a good thing to ask about, especially if occasionally you get asked to support literacy beyond elementary. So we're building the day based on what people are really looking for, but in general, it's just meant to get you off on the right foot with starting the work around the instructional and school-wide practices. The next announcement is that Sharon Ramsey, who has been my co-chair along with Adele Diorio for a number of years, she'll be stepping back from her co-chair role, and Amanda Veldman was just recently confirmed to step in her stead. So we'll continue having that mathematics lens along with English language arts on our leadership team to move the work forward. And then the next thing, we're really thinking a lot about our current state as a task force and implications for 612, which is a newer phenomenon. And so we drafted a little bit of messaging that we've shared with MAISA around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're waiting for some messaging from them on whether we can put that out into the world. We're also thinking a lot about implications for the K-12 literacy and dyslexia legislation, specifically for secondary. We know that the idea of screening for dyslexia is a new thing for secondary. There are a lot of implications for secondary systems. And so we would love to know if any questions are popping up from your locals or in your region that speak specifically to implications for secondary. Are there questions that folks are asking that you're feeling, a little stuck on? Not that we, have all the answers, but we'd love to crowdsource any of those curious questions so that we're really working smarter and working together and supporting each other. And if there are ways that the DL task force can offer support or suggestions, or even just messaging that can lighten your load, we would love to know. So please feel free to either send me an email or drop something in the chat And we'll just continue collecting those and be thinking about what our messaging can be. And then just a reminder, if you don't receive our newsletter, it's a really great way, even if you don't always get asked to support secondary, just to keep your finger on the pulse of things that are happening throughout the state, things that are happening at different ISDs in the 612 world. So I have the link there for you to join our mailing list. We keep our newsletters really short. And then on the next slide, these are excerpts from what we recently shared with GELN, and these are imperfect numbers, but kind of our best guess at this point that we have over 700,000 students that are enrolled in public schools from 612. And as a task force, we're really asking the question, what are we putting in place systemically, right, as a collaborative group to ensure that those 700,000+ students are receiving high quality literacy instruction? That's really what we're targeting in our work as a task force. That is an incredibly urgent thing for us to be thinking about. And so we want to just keep putting in front of people that we support work in birth through grade 5, and we want to continue advocating for the work in 612, and we are starting to get some traction. So on the next slide, we're showing folks that have participated. We've updated, grabbed new data, and we're starting to see some movement in terms of folks throughout the state taking the EduPass courses, filling out the feedback, giving us some great feedback. If your ISD is in red, let us know how we can help get you started in engaging in those EduPass courses. Send me an email. We have lots of suggestions and ideas. We'd love to be a thought partner. And even if your ISD is in black, that might mean that you just have a handful of educators that have taken the courses. So what can we do to scale that, right? And make sure that all of our secondary educators are engaging in this content so they can support their students. And then finally on the next slide, just by the numbers, the folks that do take the EduPass courses, the disciplinary literacy series, we're getting really positive feedback. So 69% of respondents rate each course a 4 or 5 out of 5. So of course you always get a couple of, folks that are grumpy and folks that might not like online learning. But in general, the folks that are taking these courses are really finding them beneficial. So we really want to continue putting the word out there and encouraging every single ISD to get their secondary educators into those courses, not just the first course, but the whole series. So that's all I have. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, or again, things that are bubbling up around that K-12 literacy and dyslexia legislation, please let me know.
Thank you, Janelle. If you have any questions and comments, feel free to reach out to Janelle. We do have some slide updates from MDE, although Sandy and Kelly could not be here today. So around slide 28, you'll see some of the new features. The MDE grants page has been added. There's a link there for information around letters and the registration that's open currently for letters training. You also see a couple of links there for 35M grant and 35N grant with some important dates listed there. So if you want to take a moment to pause and click through some of the links that are very important to you, that resonate with you the most, and things that you need to learn. And I'm sure that Sandy and Kelly will be available for you to reach out to them to ask any additional questions or comments that you might have around some of those important grants. Of course, PA 146, 147, frequently asked questions are linked in there, as well as there's a new professional learning webpage. So just give you just a few more moments if you wanted to click through the MDE updates. And we did have a short time for the MyKIP updates. Those were the slides just before, which were slides 23 through 27. Giving you a little bit of time there, and we will have Kathy on deck for ALN updates. So go ahead and take a few moments and peruse through some of those links. And we are actually flying through some of our updates today. So I think the gift of time at lunchtime will be honored by many. But if Kathy is in the room and you are ready to share, we will give you some time to provide updates around MAC.
I haven't noticed her join yet.
Well, once again, her slides have been updated. So if you want to take some time to look through those, we'll give you that time as well. Well, as we move through our agenda, just want to give some reminders. The poll voting is open. The link is in the chat if you did not get a chance to vote yet for our chair or secretary for next year. We want to make sure that you take a moment to do that over lunch, and also take a moment to stretch. If you can get outside and have some sunshine.